The lecture hall of the Galactic Academy fell silent as Professor Sarah Chen stepped onto the podium. Around her, representatives from 47 different species shifted in their specially designed seats, their various forms of eyes, sensors, and perception organs focused intently on the small human figure before them. "Today," Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the universal translators, "we're going to discuss something that many of your civilizations have asked about since first contact with humanity. Something that has puzzled, horrified, and fascinated the galactic community in equal measure." A low rumble emanated from the Krathari delegation, massive armor-plated beings who stood 8 feet tall and were considered the apex predators of their homeworld. Their translator crackled. "The human speaks of war." Sarah nodded calmly. "Indeed, war." The word hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Most species in the room had evolved past large-scale conflict millennia ago. The concept of organized, systematic violence between groups of the same species was as alien to them as their crystalline cities were to humans. "Let me start with a question," Sarah continued, walking to the holographic display behind her. "How many of you have predators on your homeworlds?" Nearly every appendage, tentacle, and limb in the room raised. The Vorthak, sleek reptilian beings with razor-sharp claws, hissed in what passed for laughter among their kind. The massive Krathari rumbled their amusement. Even the ethereal Luminari, beings of pure energy, pulsed brighter in acknowledgement. "Good," Sarah said. "Now how many of you are the apex predator of your homeworld?" The number of raised appendages dropped significantly. Only the most formidable species, the Krathari, the Vorthak, the insectoid Zephyrians, and a few others, maintained their positions. "Interesting." Sarah's fingers danced across her control pad, and the hologram shifted to show Earth. "Humans are not the apex predator of our world." A collective intake of breath, clicking, and various alien expressions of surprise filled the hall. The massive Krathari representative, General Thakmor, leaned forward. "Impossible. Your species conquered your planet. You reached the stars." "We did," Sarah agreed. "But we weren't the strongest, fastest, or most deadly creatures on Earth. We were simply the most dangerous." She paused, letting that distinction sink in. "And war, systematic organized conflict, is what made us so." The hologram shifted, showing various Earth predators: lions, tigers, bears, sharks. These creatures could kill a human in single combat without much difficulty. But they never developed what we did: the ability to wage coordinated warfare. Sarah pulled up another display, showing early human tribes. "War taught us strategy. It forced us to think not just about the immediate threat, but about threats we couldn't see, enemies we hadn't met, battles we might fight years in the future." The Luminari's representative pulsed a questioning pattern. "But surely such thinking led to your destruction? Species that fight themselves typically don't survive." "On the contrary," Sarah replied, "war taught us the most important lesson any species can learn: how to work together against impossible odds." She gestured, and the hologram showed ancient human battlefields. When a human army faced a larger, stronger enemy, they didn't simply accept defeat. They innovated. They adapted. They found ways to use terrain, weather, timing, and technology to their advantage. Most importantly, they learned to trust their fellow humans completely. The Vorthak representative, Commander Seth, flicked his forked tongue nervously. "This trust, it extends beyond warfare?" "Absolutely." Sarah's smile was enigmatic. "A human soldier will throw themselves on a grenade to save their comrades. A human parent will fight a creature 10 times their size to protect their child. A human will work for decades on a project they'll never see completed if they believe it will benefit future generations." She changed the display again, showing human space missions. "When we sent humans to our moon, a journey with significant risk of death, they went willingly. When we sent teams to explore dangerous regions of space, humans volunteered. Why? Because millennia of warfare taught us that sometimes individual sacrifice is necessary for collective survival." The room was utterly silent now, Even the normally chattering Zephyrian hive mind had gone quiet. War taught us pattern recognition on a species level. Sarah continued. We learned to see the signs of coming conflict, to prepare for threats that didn't yet exist. It's why humans are so paranoid about safety protocols, why we build redundant systems, why we always have contingency plans. General Thakmore's voice rumbled through his translator. And this war thinking, it continues even now? In a transformed way, yes. Sarah nodded. We wage war against disease, against poverty, against the darkness between stars. We approach every challenge with the same strategic thinking, the same willingness to sacrifice, the same refusal to accept defeat that once characterized our conflicts with each other. She pulled up a final image. The International Space Station, then the first human colonies beyond Earth, then the massive ships that had brought humanity to the stars. Every one of these achievements required humans to work together, to trust each other completely, to sacrifice for something greater than themselves. War was a terrible teacher, but it was thorough. It taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest predator. It's about being the most adaptive, most cooperative, and most determined. The Krathari general was taking notes. So were the Vorthak, the Zephyrians, and even the usually dismissive Luminari. Every predator species in the room was frantically recording Sarah's words. You see, Sarah concluded, most predators hunt alone or in small packs. But humans learn to wage war and therefore to think and act as an entire species. We became the apex predator not by being individually dangerous, but by being collectively unstoppable. She looked around the room, meeting the gaze of every representative present. That's what war taught us. And that's why, when faced with the vast darkness of space and all its dangers, humans didn't hesitate to reach for the stars. We'd already learned the most important lesson, that together we can face anything. The lecture hall remained silent for a long moment after Sarah finished. Then slowly, the massive Krathari general began a slow rhythmic clapping that his species used to show respect. One by one, every predator species in the room joined in their own way, clicking, humming, pulsing with light. They had come to understand war. But more importantly, they had come to understand why humanity, despite not being apex predators, had become the most formidable species any of them had ever encountered. War had indeed been humanity's teacher, and the lesson had been learned well.